This is the first time I've actually ever laid all the Ryobi stuff out. And I think I have a little bit more than I thought. So let's turn around here and let me show you all this stuff and let me explain. All right, so let me kind of explain how this got started and why I have all this Ryobi stuff. So let's just start batteries, and then everything's kind of laid out over here. Over here, that's obviously not Ryobi, but we bought our first house when we lived in California, and we lived in an apartment. So I needed a weed whacker, you know, a edger or whatever. I needed this thing here, trimmer, whatever you call these things, weed whacker, weed eater. They're called but different stuff. But I needed one of these, so I bought one from Lowe's. It was a Black & Decker, 99 bucks, and this was 2015, so it was a long time ago. So we were at Home Depot like the next day, and they had this kit for $99, which was this trimmer and that leaf blower. And I said, well, hey, that's perfect. I need a leaf blower too. So I took the Black & Decker one back to Lowe's, and I bought this set. And that's kind of what started it. Is like I had this set, and then I had my drills and stuff were Milwaukee, and then my nail guns were all Air. But I had this set, used it all the time, you know, for cutting grass and stuff. And then what happened was this set came with this weed whacker, that blower, and then it had, I don't remember which batteries, but it came with one 1.5 amp hour battery, and then it came with a 4 amp hour battery, which that one I think is actually over here. Hold on. I have one more battery that I forgot about, 4 amp hour. So it came with this battery, or one of them. And then what happened, so after about, I'd say it was almost 2 years that the 4 amp hour battery stopped working. Just one day it wouldn't charge or anything. So I emailed Ryobi, didn't have a receipt or anything, whatever. So I just emailed them and I said, hey, my battery stopped working. So they said, hey, what's the serial number on the battery? They like emailed me back like within an hour, and they asked for the serial number. So sent them the serial number, emailed me right back again and said, okay, we'll send you out a new battery. Like, didn't ask questions or nothing. They said, just take the old battery to the recycling place at Home Depot. You know, like when you go into Home Depot, they got those like, they're like trash cans, and you can put like light bulbs and stuff in there. So they're like, just stick it in there. Okay. So that kind of got me, wow, they really take care of everybody. And then like how I kind of started is I had those two. That's how I started. But then every time I needed another tool, it was like, well, I have the Ryobi batteries, so why don't I just buy another Ryobi tool? So I think I needed a hedge trimmer. So then the next thing I was like, because I had a Milwaukee drill at the time, and I was going to get a Milwaukee hedge trimmer, but they were expensive. And this thing was like $69. And I'm like, wow, that's not bad. So it just kind of like every time I would need another tool, the Ryobi was just such a great, cheap option. And for what I do here around the house, you know, like it works fine. I'm curious to see how it would hold up like in the service truck and stuff. That's why I don't have the Ryobi stuff in the service truck. But for around the house, what I do here works great. I have no issues with any of it. And if I do, I mean, you can just email Ryobi and they pretty much take care of everything. So let's start this with these batteries. Let me kind of explain the batteries. And they do have a little bit of a secret. So Ryobi says that any battery, 18-volt battery system is the same. So if you get one of them old blue and like, they're like blue and yellow drills from like 1996. My father actually still has one of those with the nickel cadmium batteries. These lithium batteries will work on that drill. You can't use the chargers or anything, that's different, but the battery design is exactly the same as those old drills, which makes this stuff infinitely, like, it's not going to go obsolete. So there is a slight secret. So these are what's called HP batteries, and it says it, does it say it on here? Yeah, so it says lithium, if it'll focus, right there, high performance. So they have these two extra little tabs on the back. So Ryobi has two different levels of tools, basically. They have HP and regular, and I think the only thing that's HP here is this. So it's got these two extra little tabs right here that give it a little bit more power. And you can see like on this miter saw, see how there's the little holes for it, but it doesn't have the little tabs. So the HP stuff is a little bit higher Not quality. It's a little bit higher power. Let me see. I think that's the only thing that I have that's HP. Yeah, everything else is not HP. But for what I say, the HP stuff is honestly on par with Milwaukee. It is. And if you don't know, Ryobi is made by TTI, which is the same company that makes Milwaukee. But the HP stuff is on par with everything else. But it's more expensive. So I personally don't, I don't need it for what I do. So I didn't get the HP stuff. But the batteries, so these are the older 1.5 amp hour batteries. And I have a ton of these. A lot of the kits come with these. These are the newer ones. I actually just got this battery. I did a video. I got that. Jigsaw and this battery. I did a short about that. But the new 1.5 amp hours have the little light bars, which is cool. So none of the older ones do. This is the older 4 amp hour. And then these are the newer 4 amp hours. And these are 6 amp hours. I actually scored these at Ryobi days. And they were really cheap. It was less for these two than it was for one of the 4 amp hour. So I got these, and these are the HP batteries. And this one it's different, and I don't know why it's different than the rest. It's still 1.5 amp hour, but it has the little fuel gauge. So I'm not sure why this one is different. So the chargers have kind of always been like the thing that I don't like about them. So this is what the chargers used to look like. I have a ton of these. But with the Ryobi days this year, they came out with these chargers, and this is like their new charger, and this one's a lot better. And you can see right here, it does the HP, the lithium, and then the regular. Oh, that's the difference right there. See how it's got that little yellow thing? So lithium plus versus regular. That's the difference. Lithium plus, and these are not lithium. Okay, just figured that out. But so the chargers, it doesn't matter if you have an HP battery or a non-HP battery. The chargers are all the same. But that's kind of the caveat with these batteries. I didn't realize I had that many batteries. But so then the drill this is just the regular drill. This kit, I think this came in a kit. I think it was $100 or something. The drill's fine. I have no problem with the drill. The non-HP impact is a little. I don't know. This thing is a little weird. So I think one thing I would do or are gonna do is probably get an HP impact because it's a little bit shorter and it's just better. But for this works fine. Then this is a trim router. They make some routers, and the nice thing, Ryobi has like all kinds of stuff. They're coming out all kinds of stuff. They have one of the largest lineups at Home Depot. But there is a little caveat to that because they say that they have the largest lineup, but they have like 18 weed whackers. So they do have a lot of doubles and triples of things. So you just kind of got to watch that. But this is a little trim router, which I like this thing a lot and I use this a lot. But when you put like especially with the router, the 1.5s don't seem to work. So I tend to use at least the 4 or the 6. But when you put this thing on, this thing is a little unwieldy. Like, I don't know. It's really awkward. But I don't know. I've never used another brand trim router. But it works fine. I have no problems with that thing. This is one of those little things. It's a little tire pumper. This thing is super handy. So like when we go camping or go on road trips or something, I use this. The kids know how to use this for their bike tires. It's kind of slow, but it works fine. I've never had a problem with it. And then this is the one you have to hold the trigger. So you can't set it. Like the Milwaukee one's kind of cool because you can set it. As with this one, you can't set it. But this thing is super neat. They make one that's like, this one's high pressure, low volume, but they make one that's high volume, low pressure, and they make one that's both. But this is the one I wanted because it was just cheaper. This is super cool too. This is an inverter, which this is an older inverter. I want to get the new one that like it just sits right on top and then it's got the inverter. But this is the older one. It's got 2 USB ports and then it's got a 120 volt port. And you can put the battery on it, but then it also came with a cord that you can just plug it into like a cigarette lighter if you want to. So when my service truck was broken and I had that just to pick up, I was using this, and this will work for the snap-on chargers, but it will not work for the IR chargers. It doesn't have enough current. So then I got this. This is the soldering iron, and this thing is super handy. Like, whoops. I take this thing in the house and use this thing all the time. This thing works great. It gets super hot. I want to get one for the Makita because that little gas butane one I noticed has some issues. This one, I just got this. I did a short about it. This was a deal at Home Depot. So you got to look too, because Home Depot has tons of deals for this stuff. It was $69 for this, and then one of the 1.5 amp hour batteries. So they do deals like that all the time. They do Ryobi days. Ryobi days is usually in not the fall, the spring, like around April, May. And that's where I got this. So it was these two batteries here, two 4 amp hour batteries, this new style charger, and then you could pick a tool, and I picked one of the tools down there. So it was these two batteries here, that new charger, and then I picked that tool. You can pick a free tool, so that's what I got. So to talk about this little fan, man, this thing's super handy. I actually keep this thing by my bed, and I use it pretty much every night. It's got the clip, which is nice. This is a bigger fan. This one's hybrid, but this is actually broken. The fan... The blade came off, so I don't know if the blade's broken or if it just came off, but I haven't had a chance to take it apart yet. But what's cool about this one is you can plug it into the wall too. So I got to fix that, but that's not a design flaw, I think. We had it in the chicken coop, and all these feathers, I think, got stuck. So I don't think that's fault. So then this is the 21 degree framing nail gun. I did a full video on this thing, and this thing is super handy. This is a professional tool, I would say, and this is HP. Great, no problems with this thing at all. This is the Airstrike, the brad nailer. This was actually like the third tool that I had, because when we first moved to Hawaii, we hadn't got our containers yet, but I had the drill and stuff with me, and I needed to do a little job. So what I did is I bought this, and then I sold my air compressor and my nail guns because I didn't need it after that. So I don't even have any air nail guns anymore. But this thing is great, and they do make an HP version of this. This shoots 18 gauge brad nails. It's 5/8 up to 2 inch. They also have a 23 gauge pin nailer, but I haven't used that or needed that. So they do make these in HP, but this is the non-HP version, and it works fine. This thing's super cool. This is a bug zapper and a light. So it's a bug zapper, and then this is like a little lantern. This just came out this year. This thing's super cool. I like this thing a lot. The kids actually like this in their room because it puts off like a greenish blue light, and they like that as a night light. So the kids have kind of basically stolen that. And then this was the free tool that I got for Ryobi days. So this is it's a brush or like a cleaner. So it came with this green one, and then I bought these two separate. So this one's like a soft, this is like a medium, and this is like a hard. And then the nice thing is it's got this little watertight, and this thing is watertight. You can like put a battery in there, and it'll keep the water out. So I got this for like cleaning the tub. I used it right before Thanksgiving to clean the stove. You could put the brushes on it. I've cleaned the grill with it, like ice chests. Another thing is like my service truck's got those rubber floor mats, so this works really good for cleaning those. This thing was a super cool deal. And they even have one that's like extended, like if you're trying to like clean a roof or something, it's like, there's one that's like 5 foot. This thing was super cool. My wife actually bought this for me, I think for Father's Day a couple years ago, but this is a 7 1/4 inch miter saw, and it is compound, so it'll turn. But it doesn't slide or anything, but let me unlock it actually. So it's a 7 1/4 inch miter saw, and this thing is super handy because you don't have to have a plug or anything. And again, with this thing, you kind of need a higher battery. Like you need the 4 or the 6. It'll work without it, but like if you're cutting more than 1 or 2 boards, or if you're cutting like a 2x4 that's kind of wet or green, you need a higher amp hour battery. But it'll work, like if you're just cutting a bunch of little trim boards, it'll work perfectly fine on the 1.5s. And this one, in the manual, it says you need a 4 amp hour or greater. So then kind of over to the lawn and garden stuff, I talked about this trimmer. But one thing that got me, that kind of proved to me on this trimmer was when we first moved here to Texas, it was cold, and I didn't really need to use this. And this actually sat in that bucket. That bucket was full of water, and it sat upside down, so this battery part was in the water. You can see it's all rusty here. And I was kind of thinking that it was going to be junk and not work, but this thing still works, not a problem at all. This insulation, the rubber overmolding has kind of started to come off, but it sat in the water for probably 4 months before I realized it. And the terminals, they got kind of crusty and stuff in there, but it still works. Didn't have any kind of issues with it at all. The leaf blower, yeah, it's a smaller one. They make bigger ones, but it works for what I use it for. Same with this trimmer. They make bigger ones, heavier duty ones, but it works fine for what I use it for. The hedge trimmer works great. I actually I haven't used this since we've been here, just because we had hedges in Hawaii, so I use this thing a lot. Chainsaw, again, I haven't used this since we've been here, but this thing is super cool. We used it a ton in Hawaii because where we lived was kind of in the bush, I guess you could say. And anytime it would rain, it seems like the road would be closed for trees. So I used to carry this in my truck with me on like rainy, wet days, and I would just cut through albizia trees and stuff. And it's kind of small, but you know, they make bigger ones. I don't know what size blade this is, 16 inch, 12 inch, but they make bigger ones, but it works great for what I used it for. Actually, what does it say? It's a 10 inch, so it's 10 inch, but they make a bigger one, but I never had the use for a bigger one. The weed sprayer, this is more of a kind of I did a full video on this too. I got this right before we moved out of Hawaii because, man, I used to have to spray weeds there like every single weekend. I'd have to spray weeds just because they grow so fast. But around here, like especially because we have an acre and an eighth here, and like in the summer, man, this thing gets used a ton. The last one is this. This is the pressure washer. So it's got the same kind of thing on the bottom, the waterproof thing. The newer ones on this are a lot better, but this is the older one. This one works fine. It's not like a gas pressure washer or even electric pressure washer, anything like that. It won't like pressure wash a driveway or anything like that. But it works good for like washing the car, or like I use this in conjunction with this a lot, like for washing ice chests or washing the grill. It's better than a spray nozzle, but it's not like a super high pressure thing. They have a newer one that's a lot better, and they even have an HP version of this that's a lot better. But I'm not complaining. This is something that I wouldn't replace. But if you're looking to buy one of these, I'd buy the heavier duty pressure washer. Here in conclusion, like, I purchased all this stuff myself. None of this stuff was sent to me or anything like that. The only thing that was sent to me was the battery that I explained earlier, but that was kind of a warranty deal. So would I replace any of this stuff? The only thing that I personally think I would replace, and I want to replace, is this impact. It works fine, but it's kind of long and it's kind of a little bit gutless. So I do want to get the HP version of that. That's one thing that that's one thing that I would do. But besides that, everything else is fine. And then maybe this, like, I wouldn't replace this just because I don't use it enough. But if I was looking to buy one of these, I would buy the heavier, higher quality one. I think the little one's out here. So I have the random orbital sander in my Home Depot cart. I just haven't bought it yet, haven't needed it yet. And then I want to get the grinder, the Ryobi 18-volt grinder, because I have a grinder in the truck, but it'd be nice to have one here in the shop. That's kind of my thoughts on all the Ryobi stuff. I would definitely recommend it. Yes, it's not as heavy duty as like Milwaukee or Makita or something like that. But if you just need a drill, or you need something just to have around the house, or if you have an apartment or something, you just need something, or a farm or whatever, I would definitely recommend this stuff. It's a lot more affordable than the Milwaukee stuff. And like, if this stuff, I wouldn't have this much stuff if it was the prices of the Milwaukees. I'd probably have a quarter of this stuff. But it's kind of easy to justify a $100 tool when, like, if you're doing a project and you need a tool, it's kind of easy to justify a $100 tool versus like a $300 tool from like Milwaukee. I personally don't use Milwaukee. They're not bad or anything, but I like the Ryobi just because of the affordability factor. And I've never had anything let me down at all. Hope you guys like this video. Use like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. There's also a join link for a membership for the channel. If anybody would want to do that, it helps out the channel. Thank you.